Welcome. I'm so happy you're all here, and I really am touched you are. My name is Barbara Tibbetts, and I've been enjoying the island for over 20 years. I moved here full-time about 3 years ago, the week the world shut down. It was a planned move. My children were supposed to be choosing to live on their own, but COVID brought them home. I'm lucky enough one has stayed and is building life here on the island. Living on the island full-time has made me realize how precious our resources are, which has developed into a desire to live sustainably as best I can. The event is a passion project of my own making, designed to educate, create, and I hope continue the conversations beyond today to bring awareness to sustainability and create conversations to make a difference. I would like to thank our sponsors, beginning with the Nantucket Hotel, who has graciously given us this place to congregate today, Nantucket Crisp for their delicious treats, NCTV for filming and broadcasting the event at a future date for others to enjoy, and the Dreamland Theater for showing Dark Waters, a film highlighting corporate greed, poisoned water, a lawyer, and the battle against DuPont for their negligence. A very sad story that affects us all. There will also be a Q&A following the Film for Thought movie with Charlie Walters, NCTV program host, Mark Willett, Director of Water Commission, and Alan Reinhart from the Land Bank Commission. If you haven't gotten your tickets, head over after the event. It starts at 7. I would like to begin by introducing and asking to come to the stage Alan Reinhart. He has spent 30 summers on the island, managing, then owning Snow's Cycle Shop, then moving to the island year-round in 1990. And he has spent 3 decades as the Middlemore's Ranger here on the island, and is currently in his 5th term on the Land Bank Commission. Alan has written a truly thought-provoking selection of poetry titled Nantucket Poems and Images. The book holds photographs that Alan took himself. I would like to get us started with Alan reading one of his truly inspiring poems.
What will we leave behind? Behold, dawn's rosy fingerprints creeping across winter's frosted window pane. Birth and new beginnings born with each dawn ray. The light of old lessons learned to be taught again and again to new young spirits, now emerging to forge a future later generations will inherit. What will we leave behind as our legacy? Earth, rock, wind, water, fire, and ice.
Thank you, Alan, for setting the mood for living and playing in a sustainable world. Did you know each year as much as 92 million tons of clothing ends up in landfills? Only 20% of textiles are collected for reuse or recycling globally. I would now like to introduce Kara Wade, who has been behind the scenes here at the Nantucket Hotel as our coordinator, who I discovered has a passion for sustainable clothing. She will delight us with her fashionable creations sourced here on the island at the Take It or Leave It and thrift shops. Kara, take it away.
Thank you for the lovely introduction, Barbara. Hello, everyone, if I haven't already met you. I'm Kara, and yes, I do have a passion for sustainability and bringing it into what I wear every day. For those of you who know Barbara, you know how encouraging and passionate she is, and it's people like her and you all in this room who inspire others to live a more sustainable life. So today I'm here to talk about the industry that influences not just our closets, but also the environment and society at large, the fast fashion industry. Fast fashion has undeniably revolutionized the way we approach clothing, offering trendy, affordable styles at an unprecedented pace. However, it is imperative that we recognize the hidden costs that lie beneath the surface of this convenience, the toll it takes on our planet and its people. Today, I propose that we embark on a journey towards a more sustainable and conscientious approach to what we wear each day. So now I will present you with a fashion show with clothing that I have found around the island, and it was truly very fun to kind of put these pieces together. Okay. First we have Mila walking down. All of these pieces were found on the island, and it's a representation of my taste and what I'd wear like in the evening. And I was really inspired by the pants. As you can tell, you can definitely wear them on various occasions. They're very fun to like twirl in, and you can wear them at work or in the evening as well. So this is the first look. And then the second look. Lovely. So the second look was more inspired by Nantucket. I feel as it's a very summery spring outfit you would see most women are wearing around the island. When I was shopping for this outfit, I was really inspired by this beautiful color jacket, like a seafoam color. And we worked our pieces around this jacket. And yeah, so these are all sustainable clothing, secondhand. And yeah, that's that. So now there are many ways to reduce the amount of waste from textiles and clothing and implement sustainability with what we wear each day. So I showed you one example of being a circular economy. Circular economy is where clothing is designed for longevity. So repair, reuse, and recycle to extend the life of garments, which we have done here. Another example is mindful consumption. As stated with the fast fashion industry, it is just, we overconsume on everything. It's just trends. So instead of chasing the fleeting trends, we should invest in timeless pieces that can be cherished for years, reducing the demand for constant production. Another important piece is ethical production. So as consumers, we should demand transparency from brands regarding their supply chains, support companies that prioritize fair wages, safe working conditions, and ethical sourcing of materials. Innovative materials is also something that I've been very interested in, and I feel like not many people know about this aspect as well, but we should invest in research and development of sustainable materials such as organic cotton, recycled fibers, and innovative alternatives of traditional fabrics. So an example was something that I was really intrigued by was taking food waste into making fabrics. So an example is orange peels. What do we do with those? We throw those away. Those can actually be made into fabric that you can make into clothes, which is a fun fact. Second to last is local and artisanal production. So we can support local artisans and craftspeople promoting unique handmade items that contribute to local economies and reduce carbon footprint, which is very important. And lastly, education and advocacy. Educate yourself and others about the environmental and social impacts of fast fashion. Advocate for policy changes that promote sustainable practices within the fashion industry. And I think here today we are all learning more about the fashion industry and ways to be more sustainable, thanks to you. And lastly, by embracing sustainable fashion, we showcase that elegance can coexist with ethics, that style can thrive alongside sustainability. Let our clothing choices be a testament to our commitment to creating a world where beauty radiates from harmony between what we wear and the world we share. Thank you.
What fun. Isn't it amazing what CARE created? It gives us pause on what is in our closet and how we can make a more sustainable choice by checking out the Take It or Leave It and the thrift shops. Now, to introduce those participating in our panel discussion to help us learn about what's happening in the world of sustainability. I'd like to begin by asking Bob Miklos to the stage, a visitor and observer of Nantucket Island for over 40 years, an artist, architect, and founder of Design Lab Architects, focusing on historic preservation and environmentally conscious and sustainable design. I was drawn to Bob because of the recreation and wellness facility that he designed at Quinnipiac University, where my daughter attended college. I will point out, she was very upset it happened after she graduated. A well-designed building with sustainability in mind. Welcome, Bob. Next, I would like to invite to the stage Tobias Glidden. Our first panelist, a native of Nantucket and founder of ACK Smart Solar, the only local solar firm on the island, leading the way in generating clean, renewable power, making the Gray Lady greener since 2011. Our next panelist, Jean Edelman, founder of Azure Printed Homes, the producer of ADUs and backyard studios, by bringing 3D printing technology, modular construction, and recycled materials together to create truly sustainable living in a modern and beautiful design. You men can have a seat if you'd like. Unfortunately, Sam Ray, founder of Clip Bike and Portable Bike Battery, and Malta, the creator and founder of Shore Buddies stuffed animals made from recycled plastics, are not able to join us today on the island. I hope to bring them to the island in the future. I am, however, very thankful for our conversation today around the topic of sustainability with those in attendance. Bob, take it away.
Well, welcome, and thanks for coming tonight. To say a little more about my firm in Boston, Design Lab, we're about 20 practitioners. We're now in our 18th year. Our work focuses almost entirely on adaptive reuse. And, you know, as my good friend, the previous president of the American Institute of Architects, Carl Elefante, used to say, the greenest building is the one already built. So not only do we do historic preservation, but we often adapt really underloved, underappreciated buildings because there's enormous savings and benefit to reusing those. The majority of our work is for educational and cultural clients, colleges and universities. All of our firm members are LEED certified, and that was an important moment in the profession 20 years ago, and it effectively brought into the marketplace a lot of sustainable practices and materials. Most folks have evolved beyond LEED. Most of the institutions we work with have their own set of criteria instead of chasing points and certification. We have done buildings under the Living Building Challenge, which is a worldwide initiative kind of beyond LEED, net zero energy, net zero water. But with that program, it enrolls the owners and the architects and the engineers to push the industry to develop better source products and those that become certified into the mainstream. So we actually, 5 years ago, had one of the first Living Building Challenge certified projects in America. It was a new education center for the Hitchcock Center for the Environment, a 80-year-old institution in Amherst, Mass. We're now working increasingly in the area of resilience. I had the good fortune of participating with the former director of the Preservation Institute of Nantucket, Marty Hilton, for 2 summers looking at our harbor front along Washington Street to look at strategies to address sea level rise and climate change. Out of that, it evolved to a program called Envision Resilience, which many of you may be familiar with. Remain sponsored that, and we organized 5 academic partners with their students, graduate students from landscape, planning, architecture, to look at issues of sea level rise. So the first Nantucket challenge was on Nantucket. You may have seen the exhibit at the Macy Warehouse 2 years ago. Last year, we studied Narragansett Bay, and in 2 weeks, we begin a study with our academic partners again in New Bedford. We've worked now with Harvard, Yale, Syracuse, University of Florida, University of Miami, Northeastern, University of Virginia. So it's been an incredible program, both for the students but for the communities. We're engaged with the communities, and it has completely expanded the awareness of these issues, and actually the optimistic and positive outcome we can have as designers as we learn to live with water in a completely different way. The Quinnipiac project that Barbara mentioned is a new wellness center which combines recreational fitness with medical services and, more importantly, counseling. These things are all blended together at Quinnipiac to create an environment where students learn healthy living skills. So with that project was one of our first mass timber projects, which is a huge movement on the West Coast, where we're using heavy timber products and new engineered technology like cross-laminated timber, which creates floor slabs made out of wood, where we have exposed wood that we're using instead of concrete. And with that project, we did the overlay of a strategy called biophilia, where we integrate nature in very direct and positive ways, but also in more kind of emotional ways, and all of that to create a healthier and better living environment. And I'm happy to say I'm now here as well full-time on Nantucket, involved with a couple of institutions, and I transitioned my firm to my 4 younger partners. They're in their 40s, Ben, Kelly, Marianne, and Sam. So we're now a women-certified enterprise, which is great as we move forward in a whole different world. Thank you, Barbara.
Well, thank you, everybody, for coming today. Thank you, Bob, for your introduction. I'm Tobias Glidden. I'm one of the owners of Axmart Solar on Nantucket. We're the island's first solar company. We've installed about 7% of Nantucket's electrical usage, which isn't a lot, but it's really, we think, pretty awesome. So we're approaching about 200 systems. We employ 15 year-round employees on the island. We've done projects working with Remain Nantucket, some beautiful solar pergolas at the corner table you might have seen, some beautiful little solar-powered bus stations. Most recently we did the wastewater treatment facility, so making things that are a little brown, a little greener. I've had a long background in renewable energy and public policy here on the island, so looking forward to getting in a conversation with Bob, talking about buildings. I think I did the first wet-proofed building when I restored the Scallop Shanty. That's my office. It was built in 1856, and it is wet-proof, so the ocean can flow in quite sweetly and flow right back out, which I'm very excited about. So happy to be here today and answer any questions anybody has about renewable energy.
I generally never need a microphone because I tend to talk a lot and loud, but thank you so much for inviting me, Barbara, and this is my first trip to Nantucket. I'm so glad I was able to make it and spend a couple of days here. So my name is Gene Edelman. I'm co-founder of Azure Printed Homes. And actually, this Saturday is going to be the 4th anniversary of starting our firm. My business partner and I started, it was kind of a simple mission. We're general contractors. We're contractors. So our mission was build faster, cheaper, and with positive environmental impact. And we had no idea how we're going to accomplish any of this. I'm from Los Angeles. It's very expensive to build there. It takes very long time. And construction industry, the second worst polluter, only second to auto. All the cement we use is, for every pound of cement, generates 0.92 pounds of CO2. All the waste, I mean, it seems like half of the stuff we bring to a construction job ends up in a trash can. And so quite honestly, it was COVID. It was 6 months after we started the company that gave my business partner and I some time to think about how we're going to accomplish this mission. Because while our projects continue to operate, being essential business, we send all of our office folks home working virtually. And there we were sitting and looking at each other every day and say, how are we going to get this done? And so first thing that we thought, we need to build it inside the factory, because even in Southern California, we don't get a lot of rain, but with climate crisis, we get a lot more very hot days. When it does start to rain, it doesn't seem to stop like this last winter. So we thought building in the factory would go a long way. But what we realized is the factory-built housing industry, which is a huge industry, heavily relies on export or imports from overseas. And so, of course, there were huge supply chain issues during the pandemic. So we said, why not 3D print? A lot of 3D printing got publicity over the last few years. 3D printing with cement, which was against the third mission of our business. So why not do it with recycled plastic? And what we found is that while it was new for construction field, we literally invented the industry. We developed the standards that the International Construction Code has now adopted last year for construction. But it's been already used in automotive, in aerospace. So a lot of the interiors of airplanes, interiors of cars, exteriors of cars already use the material. So we step by step worked on creating the methodology and patented the technology, and then invented the material, the mix of material. So it's 60% recycled plastic, and then we supplement with fiberglass, carbon fiber, and then additives provide the UV stabilizer and fire protection. And it's been fun to have Barbara on the journey with us. So Barbara, one of the early investors in the company, and a year ago, we produced our first backyard studio. That was our go-to-market strategy. We wanted to start with just smaller buildings that in California, as well as in many other places, you can build under 120 square feet without a permit. It falls under that category. And it really actually turned out beautiful. So it's like there's a stigma that affordable housing has to be ugly. Here we built something that was inexpensive. We printed it in one day. The whole studio, the print of the module itself, even bigger ones, takes under 24 hours. And then we can finish this little studio in 4 days, and then the unit that has bathroom and kitchen takes us 10 days. And so we put it, we finished it almost a year ago, put the image on Facebook, and was spending less than $7,000 on marketing. We were generating 65 to 70 inquiries per day. So we actually thought, wow, what a product market fit. I mean, I've started a lot of businesses before, and generally you have an idea, you create it, and then you try to sell it. Here it was a little bit different. It's like, yeah, we had the idea, we just offered it and received just incredible interest from homeowners. About 50% of our orders from homeowners who wanted for a work from home studio or exercise studio or just a little house in the backyard for the rental, all the way to affordable housing developers, housing for the homeless, mobile home park models, built to rent housing, on and on and on. I mean, we really, glamping resorts. We're installing next week our first ADU in Big Sur, which is Northern California. There's this beautiful resort called Tree Bones. And it's going to be right on the Pacific Ocean. I can't wait for the view and to stay there. So it's we've gotten a lot of interest from people who are all about sustainability and truly circular economy. Every one of our little units, it takes equivalent of 100,000 empty water bottles. And so next year, we're going to use 2 million pounds of recycled plastic. And I spoke actually just recently, and somebody in the audience asked a question, well, aren't you going to run out of recycled plastic? There was somebody else in the audience says, 2 million pounds of pound is what we generate every day. So we're good. We will have plenty of supply. But it's been an incredible ride. We now have over 1,000 investors. We've been successful. It's been very tough to raise money in the last 12 months with venture capital drying up. We've raised now over $2.5 million, and on to we're going to, in the next 45 days, announce some major investors. And so now we're going to, I look forward to our discussion. Any questions you might have, or the audience, we have a small group, so nothing is, please feel free to jump in. And there is a question. Please.
Well, one thing I was curious about for anyone in the audience, what strategies might we offer to you at a really small scale to begin to improve our environment here on the island? There's a lot of talk about the nitrate loading onto our ponds, and we now, in a recent news article, know that the majority of our ponds, which I can remember, such as Maya Comet, swimming with my then toddlers 30 years ago. It was one of the best places on the island because you could go to the ocean and the pond at the same time, and it's unusable now. So what things can we do? We, in our Envision Resilience challenge, we looked a lot at landscape. And as you know, any of you who attended the Nantucket Conservation Foundation presentation last week know that there's a whole movement to return the islands and our Cape and Islands environments to native plants, and foregoing the need to maintain golf course lawns. And it's such an easy initiative, really. I live in town on Mill Street, and a very small property, and we maybe have 1,500 square feet of planted landscape. So a month ago, my wife and I dug up half of it in 3 hours with a shovel and a hoe, raked it, not very sophisticated, and put down clover seed, which you can buy the bag for $20 at Valeria, and it's fully taken, and a carpet that requires no irrigation. It doesn't require a landscape maintenance company. So there's a lot we can do that's actually pretty easy to return to a kind of more sustainable environment. I offer, one of our speakers at Envision Resilience was Jack Ahern, who is the retired dean of landscape architecture at UMass Amherst. And he just released his book, which embodies his research over many years, called Design with Nature, Strategies for the Cape and Islands. And it's available on Amazon, but you can also take in his lecture. It's posted on YouTube for free. It's an hour. The Osterville Public Library on the Cape recorded it. So it's really, it's a primer and a how-do book as to how to easily convert your properties into a sustainable landscape. So that's one initiative I offer. I think everybody should be doing that. I think Toby Vines has some ideas.
Well, in the spirit of the free-form format we're adopting here, Bob, talking about landscape. I currently raise American guinea hogs, which is a heritage breed pig. Goes back to Thomas Jefferson's time. They just got off the critically endangered list thanks to a number of farmers. And what I do is I do regenerative agriculture. So I move them around my property where I have scrub oak. And, scrub oak is some people will say it's a native, some people say it's not a native, but I don't think it was a very important species on the planet or on the island. I'll refer to Allen, but it wasn't a major species on the island. And so I move my pigs through and they clean up the land, and then I'm able to grow vegetables underneath them, underneath the land. And, we're hoping in the future to use this technique to do, solar arrays. So we have a number of solar arrays on the island that are over grasslands. So grass is still able to grow up. There's native pollinators, and we're able to maintain the land and have, a native ecosystem that still functions the way, a grassland would, but also gets the benefit of a solar resource. So, people think about solar panels and they say, oh, you could, they're just for the roof. There's actually a lot of great creative ways of using solar on the island. And I'd encourage people who are out there or watching online to, think about something fun, because, these solutions aren't going to happen unless they're really fun. So getting pigs is fun. So I have 3 now, but I think I have 12 on the way.
Can I ask you one question? Regarding solar panels, we have used this technique. Everybody thinks they're these dark black things and they're shiny and reflective, but you could actually implement a really beautiful array. And Tobias did that. He did something that we've done on a number of projects. He has a kind of trellised area which looks like it's skylight, but they're actually PV arrays. So they emit light in a very beautiful way, a filtered light, and then they're also collecting energy. And we've used these for kind of large outdoor performance areas, and they're actually really beautiful.
Yeah, so I can speak that a little more, Bob. So a lot of people have this idea of like a pergola, a beautiful cedar, Roman, the curtains, wafting in the wind. And so we took this idea at our facility downtown, right behind Walter Sandwich Shop. You can walk by, and it uses recycled telephone poles from the Cape, eastern red cedar, and then they have panels on them, and they're just glass. So the panels are made in Colorado, and you get this kind of dappled light like you were in a forest. And we've done a number of these solar pergolas on the island, and people come to us and they're like, we love hanging out underneath your pergola because it's like being in the shade, but we also get a little light and we feel like we're in a forest and our house is powered by it. And so they get to come to the island, instead of feeling like they're taking away, they're just constantly reminded of, contributing back to the, the ecology and the efficiency of the island.
Yeah, of course, I haven't been here long enough, but by the time I leave on Friday, I'll have a number of suggestions. Azure was selected to be an innovation showcase in Washington, D.C. just a couple of months ago. Actually, Barbara offered to help and help me and another colleague to showcase our unit. But what I loved is all kind of ideas, innovative ideas in construction field that are really going to make a difference. We really need, just like Kara talked about, circular economy for clothing. There is really a way to do circular economy for construction materials. So there were companies that showcase technology, how to have to incinerate waste right there, even for a small house. A number of solutions in solar. In California, every new house has to have solar. And the technology behind batteries has improved tremendously. Prices have come down, technology improved. We now have a customer who is buying a little ADU. Not only will the house provide all the lighting for the little house in the backyard, it'll actually power the main house. on and on and on. So I just think that just being open-minded and saying there is no reason. I mean, construction industry has not changed in 100 years. So somebody told me that if Jesus were come back, the only activity he would recognize is still how homes are built. Everything else has changed, you know. Just to think of how we built them. I mean, if we were to build cars the way we built homes, where all the parts would arrive to your garage, and you would start bringing employees to build a car, we would never have cars, right? So there is also a number of strategies to take waste and convert it into a material that is like a cement, so to replace cement. So I think it really is just, and the other thing is what's interesting, when we started, even with our idea, people said, well, it's going to be expensive, you know. And what's amazing is very often sustainability actually means less money, especially in today. Our units we manufacture for 30% less than traditional construction because the printing is highly automated. And again, in the world where there's such shortages, I mean, there are tremendous shortages of labor in construction field. So to have something that can be built so much faster, like I've said, plastic prices are way down, so recycled plastic is down. To answer your question, what are we looking at new material? We're on the fourth material. We just started manufacturing three months ago, and we're on the fourth generation material looking for fifths. And what we're looking for is to improve the material. Material science is where most of the innovation will take place. Right now, it takes us 24 hours to print one of our units. Even in 3 years we worked on it, the speed of the extruder is a piece of equipment that melts the plastic, has doubled. So now our goal is, can we reduce the print time from 24 hours to 12 hours? So we just need a different formulation for the material we use. We could double the speed of production, which I believe we will in the next 12 to 24 months, to bring down the cost.
But I think we need to bring into the conversation material reuse. As all of you know, there's an enormous amount of waste in the home building industry on the island. We're just throwing away usable building products and bringing new materials here. So there's a lot of research in the area, and there's a lot of things going on. Remain did sponsor a study on that, and there was a great lecture that NPT sponsored a couple weeks ago. I was at the American Institute of Architects annual conference in June, and the keynote speaker was Jacinda Ardern, the retired Prime Minister from New Zealand. And I was staggered, as the whole audience was, when she shared with us that in New Zealand, the government will take any house that anybody wants to discard. It can be brick, steel, wood. They chop it in half. This is how she described it. They put it on a trailer, and they will take it to another site and reassemble it. This is nationwide. It so happens her husband has a kind of a version of an HGTV series that does exactly this. But it was amazing. There it is, you know, the entire country has focused on this issue of reuse, and they just do it. They just implement it. There's a lot of great technology that's been developed at Cornell University. They have disassembled houses and re-erected them, and they're working on technology that can scan the materials in an existing house and determine immediately which are hazardous and cannot be reused, and those that can. And this is one of the biggest issues in terms of identifying which you can take out and recycle and reuse. But you know, the irony is, on Nantucket, forever, from the 18th century, we always disassembled houses, moved them, reassembled them throughout the island. We have better technology and know-how than probably anywhere else in the Northeast for dismantling and moving houses and reusing them. Why aren't we doing that? because the financial incentive isn't there. But shouldn't we be focused on how to do that? I think it has to happen.
Yeah, actually, I didn't realize you were in San Francisco in July because I was there as well. And one of the speakers who actually I've become very good friends with is Eric Fried. And he is the author, he's a partner at Canon Design, and author of an incredible book. I recommend it. It's called Circular Economy for Dummies. And I'm not a big fan of those, that series, but that book is excellent. It lists interviews with over 100 people he conducted to discuss what circular economy really means and to look at creative ideas. I mean, yeah, there is a need for innovation, but there are many things that's already been invented. It's really just having the commitment of before you start a new project or plan new things, just to think how to do it in a way that meets sustainability goals. And as I mentioned before, very often people find that the cost is lower doing it in the right way than just trying to produce new stuff.
I'll talk a little bit about the sustainability of solar panels. I get this question all the time from folks. They're like, how do you recycle solar panels? Currently, there's 3 recycling plants online in America to recycle solar panels at industrial scale. So, we can take panels that are 20, 30 years old. Most panels have a 25, 30-year lifespan. They have a warranty to 25 years. That means they're going to produce about 85% of their energy at year 25, so they're incredibly resilient. How they degrade is that the solar panel, the silicon, as the wind flexes and the panel moves slightly, it slowly degrades the connection between the electrical connections in the panel and loses efficiency over time. A solar panel is about 98, 99% recyclable, the main components being glass and aluminum. So it rolls into a factory, panel smashed, glass gets separated off, the aluminum gets separated off. It's very easy to recycle aluminum, and then the silicon is essentially sand. But then there's in some panels there are small amounts of silver, cadmium, other heavy metals, and those can be separated off and recycled using very well known metallurgical recycling techniques. And so if you're asked about are solar panels recycled in the U.S., the answer is yes.
Any questions from the audience?
We hear a lot of conversation about 3D printing. I would say that 95% of the population hasn't got a clue what that really entails. So when you're talking about doing that for housing, are you, in my mind, I see these big wall panels coming out with doors and windows, all made out of recycled plastic. Am I thinking in the right direction, or doesn't it take a lot of energy to do all that? A lot of times we do things and they create more problems elsewhere. So anyway, my question is, could you sort of maybe give us a little primer on what that is?
Sure. Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, because I deal with this every day, I lose track that it is really kind of a new concept. And believe me, 3 years ago, I was exactly where you were. I had no idea what I was talking about. Actually, my kids were the ones who were talking about it, so I just picked up from that and say, yeah, that might be a good idea. But yeah, so it really does not use a lot of energy, and we use an industrial robot. They're used in a lot of auto manufacturers, and we connect to it. There's a piece of equipment called extruder. Extruder is a piece of equipment that basically we take our material, it arrives to our factory already in small pallets. They're like this size. So pallets go into this extruder. It's basically like a melter. It melts it, and then the 3D printer goes around and round and creates a structure. So we don't create doors or windows. We should create the module. We print roof, sidewall, floor, and sidewall. And one unit, yeah. So at the end of the day, we have the complete unit, depending on size, but 120 to 180 square feet unit that's totally finished. And we actually create two levels. The way the printer works, it goes around once for exterior level, and it goes the other way for interior level. So we actually leave void in the middle, so we can insulate the units very well. And there are videos on our azureprinthomes.com is our website, and there are videos there, no matter what I'll explain. But it really is very efficient process, does not use a lot of energy. And then after we create this module, then it takes 4 to 5 days to finish. We do, on the inside of this house, it's exactly like any other house. That's how we got approvals from the building industry it has drywall, it has insulation, lighting, plumbing, so on and so forth. And then we ship completed unit on site, and it takes for one of these modules half a day to install. For bigger houses, we create number of modules, and then they come together just like Legos. I mean, they're very easy to put together. We've designed the way they connect, and they get attached to a foundation. We don't even need a slab, so we use a perimeter foundation. Basically, need to attach 4 corners of the structure to something solid for wind resistance, earthquakes, so on and so forth. Yeah, so it's it kind of sounds complicated, but once you'll see the video, you will become an expert, because 95% of the people around the country or the world have no idea what I'm talking about.
So you were mentioning that the cost savings is about 30%, but it sounds like it's also so much quicker to produce these. So is that 30% considering also all the labor that is not required compared to a traditional build?
Yeah. So that is how we achieve the saving. Basically, it takes us 1 day to do what, there is no lumber, there is no metal, there is no roof, and we replaced 3 months of building a structure with 1 day of print. That is where the biggest saving arrives. So, very good question. And the other thing is there are some little flyers on desk there. You'll see people think their structures are sexy. I said, well, why do you say it's sexy? Because we can do curves. So, we're no more limited by 2x4s. So we really can create some fantastic structures, and we do have, rounded corners, but as time goes on, as our speed improves, we'll be able to do some really incredible things. And then the architects will have fun doing this. We just met with a firm a couple days ago, who wants to use our structure for a mid-rise structure. And so the architect said, let's hold off from submitting this, because I think we can do some things just an exterior with parts that we're going to 3D print. They're very, very unique, so we're not going to be limited to.
But the question that I have is, why do they call it printing?
Because we literally do 3D printing. We print. The 3D printer is the instrument that we use, and we print the structure. We don't, instead of brick by brick, we print by print. So there is we basically create 400 layers to do a 10-foot high structure. So, yeah, my business partner is going to be on an international TV show in just about 6 weeks. And that was his closing line. Let's instead of building brick by brick, we'll do it print by print. So that really is what we do.
Hello. I have a question about construction codes. How do you work with the construction codes and things like the wiring in the house and all that sort of thing? Is that pre-printed also?
Yeah, we basically, in order to take our units to kind of wide to the customers, we had to figure out how for it to be treated just like in our instance, a residential construction. So we leave in the way we've designed the interior of the print, where we leave like what we call them channels. Maybe there's a better way, where we put all the wiring and all the plumbing, and then cover it with a drywall. So our challenge was, and that's why it's taken us so long, was to figure out how to meet all of the current construction codes with a brand new material, right? So on the interior, we had to create something that will look and will function just like an interior of any house. On the exterior, we needed to add fire resistance, plastic, fades. So we need to add UV resistance. We need to create a material on the outside that will meet construction codes. And so we worked with International Construction Code Organization, and they created an acceptance criteria, just a new way to analyze a product like ours. It took them about 9 months, and they pulled chief building officials from around the country, and it was unanimous approval. I mean, just people loved the look, loved the functionality, and loved the fact that we will meet all of most of the criteria are around safety, and so we designed them to meet earthquake, seismic, because we're in California, but also wind and also snow loads. So I'm from Ukraine, so I'm worried about snow. We couldn't meet the bomb load requirements, but snow loads we met. It's very. And now my son, who spent a lot of time in Hawaii, just called me the other day when we learned about fires there, and he said, "Did you hear what's going on?" I said, "When I come in my office, when I open up my email, I see where there are crises around the world. Whenever there is an earthquake in Turkey or a fire people are looking how we're going to rebuild fast. So our technology will, again, we're not at scale yet. We just have one printer. January 1, we've now raised enough capital to have 3 printers, so we'll triple our capacity. But our method will really be wonderful for creating emergency units. And with climate change that's going on around the globe, unfortunately, there's going to be other needs to replicate or build new housing fast. And we have a crisis in California with 75,000 homeless in LA County. So we have crisis today that we need to be printing much faster.
Are there any more questions? Wow. I just want to say thank you to everybody who came. And for our panelists, Bob Miklos, Tobias Glidden, and Jean Edelman. Really, I'm very touched, and I learned a lot. I hope all of you did too. So I'd also like to thank, again, the Nantucket Hotel, NCTV, Nantucket Chris, Kara Wade, Alan Reinhard, the Lookbook, and Dreamland Theater for making this all possible. I hope many of you will join us later at Dreamland at 7 to watch Dark Waters and stay for the Q&A with Charlie Walters, Mark Willett, and Alan Reinhard. I hope you've been able to learn something new and take what you have seen and heard today to continue the conversations with your friends and family. Now I'd like to close and thank you for coming with one more poem from Alan Reinhardt's book of Nantucket Poems and Images. Can I welcome you up to read another poem for us, Alan?
All of the poems in this book, by the way, are a reflection of my experience here on Nantucket over the last 60-some years, and my involvement with the community and also with the environment here on Nantucket. This is called Good Night and Sweet Dreams. Night crept in long ago, darkening the windows and sky. Stars now flash between the clouds, sending dim light to this place. Night is now darkening toward tomorrow's dawn and the rosy light of new day. Now is the time to catch tomorrow's dreams.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you all for coming.